Hey, what's up, folks? Thank you for joining us this evening. We hope that you have enjoyed your time with us as we have walked with Jesus on his journey to the cross. And tonight is certainly a part of that journey, and it's going to be pretty special to help you embrace the Last Supper and the moments that would follow as Jesus was making ways to the cross.
Yeah, and as we enter this experience, we want you guys to gather all of your supplies that you've gathered from your Easter weekend shopping guide and really start settling.
We're about to walk through some of the most painful and heartbreaking parts of Jesus' story. I mean, up until this point, we've seen him heal, we've seen him teach, we've seen him face temptation, and now he's about to be crowned king in the most unusual way.
Yeah, so we really want to encourage you to open your eyes, open your heart, your mind, potentially look at this moment in the life of Jesus, really in your spiritual life with fresh eyes. Look at it as newly as you can. Look at it as humbly as you can, and just maybe embrace this moment. It could be the first time that you've done this as a family or with friends around a table. We hope that this moment is really helpful for you to see, to watch, to embrace, to almost put yourself in the shoes of the disciples in these last hours in the life of Jesus.
Yeah, and we're going to first enter the upper room where Jesus had his last meal that he shared with his disciples before he went to the cross.
On our journey to the cross, we all know that Jesus and his disciples, the time is coming for the Passover, the Last Supper, and they gather together to eat, and Jesus serves them, and the washing of the feet. They take bread and wine and distribute it to each one of them, and they share a meal together.
Well, we're going to do that. Jack's going to read that for us in a second, but let's pass the bread and let's get prepared. Let's have communion together.
It's kind of crazy. There was 12 of them in this room when this happened. All the different personalities talking. I always think about that kind of stuff. Think about it when you're at a table with 11 of your closest people, how loud it is, the conversation, stuff like that. And
just what would be on Christ's mind.
Right? Because he knows no one else does, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit of what we're going to talk about here in a moment.
Jack, why don't you read the text for us?
Yeah. In Luke 22, verse 14, we'll start out, and it says, "And when the hour came, he reclined at table, and the apostles with him. And he said to them, I have earnestly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God. And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he said, Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes. And he took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And likewise the cup after they had eaten, saying, This cup that is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood. But behold, the hand of him who betrays me is with me on the table. For the Son of Man goes as it has been determined, but woe to that man by whom he is betrayed. And they began to question one another, which of them it could be who was going to do this."
Did you guys notice verse 15? It says Jesus fervently desired. My version says fervently desired to spend this moment with the disciples.
Yeah, he knew what was coming, right? Not to spoil the story, but he was eager for what was coming. Was he eager because it was the Last Supper? We call it like it just rolls off the tongue, right? We call it the Last Supper, like my Bible even has it up here, right?
Do you think the disciples knew what was going to happen? Yeah, any clue at all?
Even if he told them.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Right after that, they hear what he says and they start arguing with each other about who's going to betray him. And then it gets into this conversation around who's better than who. And so I don't know, even if he just told them outright, I don't know that they would hear it. I think that's the way I would be. I mean, honestly, I can't blame him for that.
Man, I think also he's accomplishing what the Father set out, right?
Yeah.
And he goes back to that a lot. You know, on his time on earth, I just think that's one step closer, maybe. Eager to fulfill prophecy.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're saying that's why he was
Eager, maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
He has this meal with his disciples and does some other things. He washes their feet, does some really cool things. But then when it's over, he gets up and he leaves. And he goes into the Mount of Olives, or
Right.
some translations say the Garden of Gethsemane, and he goes out to pray. He brings the disciples with him. Then he takes a couple of the disciples and takes them even deeper into the garden with him.
Right.
And they start praying together. And what happens in that moment is just, everything's already pretty radical. It's Jesus, right? But what happens in this moment definitely was a turning point. Out of all the things we could look at, this is a pretty pivotal moment. Can you read that for us, Dorcas? I think it's Luke 22.
I think it's 40.
Yeah, 40.
7 or something. Okay.
Yep.
When he reached the place, he told them, "Pray that you may not fall into temptation." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down, and began to pray. This verse is always hard for me to read. "Father, if you're willing, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not only will my will but yours be done." When an angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him, being in anguish, he prayed more fervently, and his sweat became like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he got up from the prayer, he came to the disciples, and he found them sleeping, exhausting from their grief. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you won't fall into temptation." Jesus said to the While he was still praying, or still speaking, suddenly a mob came, and one of the 12, named Judas, was leading them. He came near to Jesus to kiss him.
I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot, but why does that verse stand out so much to you?
I feel like, it's Jesus, who we know, shed his blood for us, who is saying this prayer, because I'm thinking, all of us are human, and I feel like in that moment, he's God in the flesh, but he's also having that flesh. He is having a flesh moment. I want to do this, Lord, our Father God. I want to do this, but if it's not me, if I'm not supposed to suffer this way, take this from me. And I think we all have moments of, things that we go through, and, it's clearly not what Jesus went through. But, we've all had those moments of, I know I've got to do this thing, and I still want to ask Jesus, if at all possible, take this cup from me, take this from me, whatever. Yeah. He's also having that feeling of, take it from me if it's not supposed to be your will, Lord. And if it is your will, which it was, let it be done. So.
And it says in 44, jumping off of you, Dorcas, he prayed more fervently, and he was in such agony of the spirit. So I think what always hits me is he's in anguish there, right? Or that's the word. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the first time, I always felt like, you see Christ as the Son of God, this immortal, awesome dude. Mm-hmm. And it's like the first time for me where you actually see him as kind of man, right?
Yes.
So was he afraid? I mean, he knew it was happening. He knew it was coming. I mean, I think he's trying to tell everybody in his own way, this entire time. He's passed the cup here. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I think the guys just thought, I want to go out here and pray, and
it was a routine, right?
Yeah, it was like a turn. They're tired. Oh, we're a little tired.
We're going to go pray with Jesus. Let's go.
I go pray, and we're going to take a nap. Yeah, that's something I think is a really good question. Was he actually afraid?
He had to have felt some fear,
Yeah.
just the fear of, and he already knew what was going to happen. Like he knew he was going to suffer. He knew he was going to die.
Yeah.
And still, I think in that moment, like it was a reality of, yeah, this is happening. So,
Yeah.
but then bring it right back to this.
Yeah.
This is my plan and purpose. So I'm not going to take the cup from you.
I think there's the human side, the fear of the pain, right? He knows what's coming, but he also knows he's going to be forsaken. I mean, you're going to be forsaken by God. Is there no lower than low of that? Yeah.
I think this is one of the ways that we can identify with Christ in our own sufferings. Hebrews talks about how we have a high priest that sympathizes with us, and when we feel like no one can share, the same, like what we're going through, Jesus was there too. He experienced pain as well, and more so than we ever could. And I think he knew the unbearable weight that sin was going to be placed on him, and he was in anguish. All past, present, and future sin put onto him, and it was going to kill him.
He had to be fully man and fully God, right, for his sacrifice to actually qualify, like for his sacrifice to actually be a replacement for ours. So he had to encounter the same type of, despair is not, the text I have, it says he had agony of spirit. He was in such agony of spirit. That's got to be a feeling that mankind feels, right? I think he was sweating drops of blood because of the separation. He was going to finally encounter a moment where he wasn't in perfect relationship with the Father because of what you said, sin. So what happens next?
So after he's done praying, Judas shows up with the Romans, and they're there to arrest Jesus, and they tie up his hands and they lead him away to be beaten, whipped, tried, and then ultimately lead him to the cross. And this is the part that I don't like. Nailed his hands, nailed his feet, and then just hung him up for everyone to see.
I can read that for us in Luke 23, verses 33. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments. And the people stood by watching. But the ruler scoffed at him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself. If he is the Christ of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him, This is the king of the Jews. One of the criminals who were hanged railed at him, saying, Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong. And he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he said to him, Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. And it was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And while the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two, then Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last.
I just can't get over that. I mean, I'm thankful for what he did. It's just, I mean, he did nothing wrong. He healed people. He restored people. I mean, even at the very last moment, he talked the guy that was hanging there next to him. He told him that he would see him in paradise. That's just, he didn't deserve that.
Can I read what Matthew says right after that? It's Matthew 27:51. It says, "Suddenly the curtain of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked and the rocks were split." I can't imagine what that must have been like. Just, I don't know. I mean,
So Matthew tells that, adds that piece, right, which is
Mhm.
great. And I think Matthew says the same thing Luke does, but because the next verse where you stopped,
mm-hmm.
when the Roman officer overseeing the execution saw what had happened, he worshiped God and said, "Surely this man was innocent." Crucifixion wasn't a new thing. Unfortunately, I mean, the Romans had become experts at that. They were,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure I would imagine they didn't crucify somebody and then that
No.
happened. So the disciples, not everyone, not the Roman officer, not everyone else, the disciples, Mary, mother, right? They've listened, watched this guy. They've abandoned everything in their own life to follow in his very footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started watching him. And he started doing all these things, saying all these things. People would try to get healed and he would forgive their sins.
Mm-hmm.
Just crazy stuff, right? That he would, over the 3 years, you said, right? 3 years of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
And which, by the way, side note, by the way, he wasn't the first person to claim to be the Messiah. This was happening all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was something evidently, I would imagine, different about Jesus. And even though they knew the Old Testament prophecies, they knew, Jesus even told them what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
As he set himself in Luke 9, I think it is, to head towards Jerusalem, he told them what he was going to do, what was going to happen. And I don't know,
Can you wrap your head around that though? As
that's what I'm
you
saying.
hear somebody say, "Yeah, I'm going to go be crucified,"
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
whatever.
I know.
Yeah.
It really is. And it was radical then. I guess this is why.
Yeah,
it was radical then, but it's radical now. Really.
It's really radical. That's right.
John the Baptist shows up on the scene, first time in human history. He's saying, "Look, you can be right with God by how your heart is postured, not by what you do."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, that's the beginning of this journey to the cross.
Yeah.
And this is part of, this is happening. This is the reason John could say that. And the disciples are right in front of him. At this point in the journey, all hope was lost.
Sure.
We just set out to follow this guy. And
It says in 48, and when all the crowd came to see the crucifixion, saw that would happen, they went home in deep sorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. No hope, like what you're talking about.
Well, still, some might have been hoping he was still the Messiah they thought they were waiting for,
It had to
right?
be.
The one who's
I mean-
going to take over, take control of, not the babe in the manger who's going to be crucified. That's not the Messiah they were looking for.
If you haven't already, now's the time for you to do this with your family and your friends. We hope that this moment will be incredibly meaningful to you as you remember the body and blood of Christ.
Yeah, that's right. And we hope, again, as you have taken this journey with us, potentially over the last few weeks, on this journey to the cross, we hope that tonight you become a little more aware of Jesus of Nazareth. And we actually want to position you to end your night very similar to how the disciples and Jesus' friends and his followers ended that very day as well.
Let's read it again in Luke 23, verse 44. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3, because the sun's light failed. The curtain of the sanctuary was split down the middle, and Jesus called out with a loud voice, Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit. Saying this, he breathed his last.
And thank you for joining us for this Good Friday.